Coach, and today I wanted to come on live and I wanted to talk about something that I think is super important, and that is why a narcissist can't heal. Those of you who follow my work are generally people who have grown up with narcissistic parents. You've grown up with an alcoholic parent. You've grown up with a parent who has belittled you. You've grown up with a parent who has ignored you. You've grown up with a parent who you felt disconnected from. You have grown up with a parent who was there, but wasn't really there. You grew up feeling like you didn't matter, like who you were emotionally was irrelevant. Maybe you grew up feeling like you were a burden. Maybe you grew up with somebody who was so absorbed in their own pain that they could not see your pain. And so if this is you, it's important that you realize that there are wounds that you may, hopefully you have healed or you're in the process of healing. But it's important for us to realize that when we are forced to abandon the self, that creates a shadow inside of our own selves. Now, we don't often think about, those of us who follow this type of work, we can tend to become very interested in what makes a narcissist tick. Why did they hurt us? Why did they abuse us? Why did they discard us? What's gaslighting all about? Why did they cheat? Why did they future fake? Why did they tell me they love me? Why did they make me promises that they never intended to make? Why did they ghost me? Why are they so passive aggressive? Why do they stonewall me? Why do they love me on Monday and they're ignoring me by Friday? What is the hot and the cold stuff? Why? And it makes sense. And many of us start our inner healing journey with that pain. And it's important that those of us who are here to heal completely, right, we have to understand that pain is an activation. That pain is not about disowning. Pain is not about minimizing. It's not about us pretending the pain isn't there. What a narcissist will do is a narcissist will sense pain, they reject it, and they project it. So the shadow self, everybody has a shadow self, according to Carl Jung, and I tend to agree with him. It's an archetype, and it's the most dangerous archetype because it means that I am not accepting parts of myself. I'm staying in denial of myself. Even if I can sense my pain, I'm in denial of the root cause of the pain. I'm in denial of who caused the pain, why the pain is there. For instance, when I was starting my journey and I realized I was in so much pain and my life was failing and my body was failing and my marriage was falling apart. I had panic disorder. My hair was falling out. I blew out my thyroid. I had all of these inflammatory processes, somatic experiences happening in my body, which were a manifestation of the mental agitation or the spiritual inflammation. I had a disorganized mind. And I was raised by people who were disorganized. Their mind was disorganized. They were able to get by controlling the children and by controlling one another. But they had disorganized minds. How does a 3-year-old learn to emotionally regulate if mommy's screaming at the child because the child can't regulate? You can't. All that does is create chaos and disorganization in this poor baby's mind. How does a child learn that it is enough if it is taught that it is not enough to love? It can't. The mind becomes disorganized. So if you think of the mind as an apartment building, now an apartment building just doesn't have one room on each floor. There are many rooms on each floor. That's the mind. And so now if your mind is organized, you get on the elevator and you can get from one level to the next level to the next level to the penthouse. Somebody who's got a really organized mind can come from the first floor or the basement of the I am not enough stuff in the conscious mind, and the I hate myself, I'm not good enough stuff, even in the collective consciousness, which is even below the conscious. So if I am integrated and organized, then I can get myself mentally and emotionally up out of the basement of my mind, hit the elevator button, get to the first floor, get to the second floor, get to the third floor, get to the fourth floor, get to the fifth floor. Now, but what's happening in an organized mind? In an organized mind, I'm embracing all the pain from the first floor, the second floor, the third floor. I'm not ignoring any of it. Now, a narcissist is somebody who rejects their shadow. So rather than be somebody who says to themselves, I'm in pain, or they say to themselves, I'm sensing that I'm envious of my neighbor. I'm envious of the guy who has that girl. I'm envious of the woman that has that relationship. I'm envious. Or a narcissistic mother would be envious, let's say, of her daughter who got divorced and is now has her own job, has her own career, and is dating someone wonderful. Narcissistic mothers are stuck, right? So imagine if that's a situation. We'll use that. So that mom will not heal because she's not willing to go into the envy. She rejects it. She rejects it. So narcissists reject the shadow. Somebody who is healing doesn't reject the shadow. So someone who's healing can notice, wow, I'm feeling jealous of my daughter. And I don't like the way that feels, but I'm going to embrace that jealousy. Where does that jealousy come from? Well, my mother was jealous of me. My sister was jealous of me. I had a friend in high school that was really mean to me. Maybe that's where it's coming from. So you see, someone who is healing stays on the elevator going up, embracing, embracing, embracing. This is integrating the shadow. It's not rejecting the shadow. Narcissists, on the other hand, they feel the envy, they feel it, it makes them uncomfortable, and they project it. And so what happens is this: they never get to heal because they're disowning those parts of themselves. And when you disown parts of yourselves, you remain separate from the light. What is light? Light is love. Light is compassion. Light is self-forgiveness. It's awareness. It's compassion. It's beautiful. But narcissists can't heal because when they get confronted with a difficult emotion, rather than embrace it, they disown it and then they project it. Now, here's the problem we have if we are codependents. We have a shadow too. So we reject the I am not enough stuff. So I don't feel good enough. I reject that pain. And rather than go into that pain and work it through, embrace my inner child, what I do then is I reject it, I disown it, and I start to people please. If I'm a codependent, I feel not good enough, I reject it, and then I look outside of myself, I blame myself, and then I try to be good enough for someone else, right? Mike just said he cut his narcissistic mom off, drunk mom off in 2016 and haven't looked back. She's tried to hoover, meets no avail, never accept a hoover. I think that's a really, if mom hasn't healed, she's dangerous. If you've healed, she's less dangerous, right? Because it's like a narcissistic mom who is an alcoholic, who is unhealed, is dangerous to a codependent son's psyche who hasn't healed, because you don't have your stainless steel spine yet. And it's hard to say no to her from a solid place of self-efficacy or self-esteem. So the more you heal, the more able you are to withstand other people who aren't healed, but it's not recommended. And so I think the more we heal, the more we learn to go into our own shadow, the more we stop disowning ourselves, the more we embrace our pain. I call it layering, and it's not an accepted psychological term, but it is a term that I've used to help me navigate the many rooms of my mind that I've had to bring into order because I grew up in such a disordered home by under the thumb of a very disorganized mom, very disorganized and very dysregulated dad. My father was regulated if he can control people. My mom was regulated if she got my father's approval. So I watched my entire life, my entire childhood was watching shadows dance. She didn't have a sense of self, and his sense of self came from domination. And it was just sick. And so here, we, the children, who's teaching us how to organize the mind? Absolutely no one. And so it's no surprise that I had shadows, a codependent shadow, a caretaker shadow, and I lost myself in that shadow. And I had many mental and emotional breakdowns in that shadow. But what it helped me understand was there is a way out. And what I focused on was like, wow, it could be no other way. It was never me, it was my programming. This was actually organic. It could be no other way that I develop this lack of self, that I abandon the self. So then it was, how do I not abandon the self each and every day? And I would tuck my pain in under the guise of compassion and self-love and total radical acceptance, no matter what it was. If I was angry, if I was irritable, if I didn't feel good, if I felt self-pity, if I was envious, if I wanted to go beat somebody up, of course I wouldn't. But if I felt like I wanted to do that, I would just tuck it in and tuck it in. And it was a beautiful, beautiful process. And eventually I came to a precipice where I realized, like, oh, this is why narcissists don't heal. This is why my uncles didn't heal. They both died, alcoholics and gamblers, in such sad situations with nobody around them, just so sad. Is because when their pain showed up, they projected it. They disowned it. So the pain is actually bringing us exactly to where our wound is. And so what we do is we layer it. The rest, people who aren't narcissistic, they get stuck in it and they feel the pain of it. See, narcissists don't really, they're not aware of their pain because they offload it to other people. So a narcissistic mother will rage at her child and she feels better. She got rid of this energy and now she's displaced it. And now she's in her victim mentality and telling herself that the kid deserved it. And now she's retelling her story to herself and other people. And so she's like, she's charged, man. Like, she's not suffering. She's not suffering. But people who love narcissists, they're suffering. The kind-hearted, they're suffering. The people with empathy, they're suffering. They're trying to figure out, like, why did this person treat me this way? And so you have to be really careful, because if you have a shadow and you're not dealing with it and you're stuck in your pain and you're misunderstanding your pain, then you're dissociating from your pain and you're rejecting it. I call that layering. So what I do is I teach people one-to-one, and in my group coaching, I teach them how to stay in their bodies while they're processing their pain from a higher state of consciousness. And it's a practice. It's an absolute practice. So it's, rather than say, I'm sad and I'm sad, let's just be sad. Let's just give that room on that floor number 1, let's just open the doors and let's just open the windows. Let's walk into the room called sadness on the first floor and let's just hang out. Let's sit on the couch. Let's not be angry that we're sad. Just stick with sadness. And an amazing elevation happens because integration is happening. You're not rejecting the self anymore. You're not dancing with you're not pushing the shadow away. You're bringing the shadow in. You're bringing light to the shadow and the wounds caused by the shadow. See, that's what a narcissist isn't willing to do. When a narcissist feels pain, they get angry and then they project it and then they blame you. They pull you into the melodrama. And all the while, if you stay on this path long enough, especially if you heal from this, you're going to be able to, like this, see when someone who is highly narcissistic is pushing away their pain, blaming other people for it, and at the same time trying to drag you in onto their stage. And eventually you'll get so good at observing and perceiving and discerning that even though you have empathy for them, you'll have empathy for the self first, because you've done your own personal codependency recovery, inner child healing. There's so many things, so many words for the same thing. It's all the same stuff. Healing abandonment issues, healing from narcissistic abuse, healing from emotional neglect, inner child work, shadow work. It's all the same stuff, right? You have to pick what resonates with you. So if you stay on the path long enough and you understand, oh, I'm here to transcend the pain. Yes. So, oh, light of what? Light of awareness is what enters the wound. Correct. Oh, so I have to be at a higher state of awareness to do shadow work. Yes. I have to be at a higher state of consciousness to do inner child work. Yes. I have to be at a higher state of consciousness to heal from codependency. Yes, because codependency is you acting and manifesting the shadow self, the part of you that is rejecting you and falling away from embracing the I am not enough stuff. When you're healing from codependency, you go all in. You embrace I am not enough. You embrace the shame. You stop running from it. You embrace the inner child that's experiencing that pain. And as you do, what ends up happening is you get better and better at navigating all these different rooms in your mind. So ultimately, when you're thinking from an organized mind, you're thinking from the top down, not the down up. You see, that's chaotic, because when you think from subconscious mind up, your thinking is chaotic, because you're thinking from inner child stuff. You're thinking from shadow coping skills. You're thinking from habits of thought. You're thinking of neurological patterning, reactivity. You're not thinking top down. You're thinking from the amygdala and hippocampus, limbic system, survival brain, the mammalian brain. That's all fear-based stuff. So, but when you think from top down, you're thinking from I am enough. I always was enough. And there's nothing that I can't process from a higher state of consciousness. So the reason a narcissist can't heal is the same reason, well, is the opposite of why you can. So if you know that you're in pain and you seek approval as an attempt to avoid that pain, what you're doing is you're cutting yourself off from your shadow self. So you have to turn to that part of you that has been conditioned unfairly to think that in order to survive, you need approval. That's the very wounded part of you. That's your inner child. So we have to learn from a higher state of consciousness to pull the inner child in and to sit with their pain. One of the things that I just suggested to a private client was to get a mirror, turn off all the rooms, turn off all the lights in your room, and put a candle. Be safe about it, but put a candle between you and a full-length mirror. And at first, you're probably not going to be able to make eye contact with yourself. So what you do is you start at the top of your head, you look outside your silhouette, you look at the outside of your shoulders, the outside of your legs, you look at your feet, you look at your legs, you look at the other side of your body, then you go up, you look at your calf, you look at your solar plexus, you look at your heart space, you look at your throat chakra, your chin, your nose, your face, and then eventually you lock eyes with yourself. And in this gaze, you tell your inner child, you are enough. You are enough. You are enough. It is so profound. The one client that I just used that exercise on said that the tears immediately came. Like she saw herself for the first time. This is the way neurologically we activate mirror neurons for the self. I don't believe it's just a theory. I've never tested it, but this is my theory. My theory is that if a child's mother doesn't look into the child's eyes and see a valid self. Now remember, there's the observer and then there's the object. So if now the observer is the infant and looks into dead eyes, that infant can't see the reflection of self. So no mirror neurons, no healthy schema, psychological schema gets activated. The neural pathways that or associated, and the bundles of nerves associated with mirror neurons don't get activated. It's so sad that you can walk through your entire life and have no empathy for the self because of that reason, which is why I do what I do. I don't promise anybody happiness. What I promise is a pathway back to the divine beloved self. That I promise you. That I promise you. Happiness is subjective. To me, happiness is peace of mind. It is contentment. It's being able to, under duress, manage my emotions no matter what storms come. To me, that's happiness. Being able to know that as challenges comes, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to accept them as they come, no matter what challenge it is. To me, that's happiness. Being able to wake up and flow my focus towards what I want to think about. There's roadkill over there, but yeah, that's a beautiful sunrise. I don't want to be focused on the roadkill, and I prefer to hang out with people that can see more sunrises than roadkill. Why? Because it lifts my vibe. I don't want my vibe to be brought down. I want to feel like I have wings of consciousness. And I feel like I do more for other people if I stay in a high vibe than if I allow other things outside of me that I can't control bring me down. So I've spent nearly 3 decades on this journey managing my mind, organizing my mind, figuring this stuff out, understanding the codependent narcissistic dynamic, understanding below the veil versus above the veil, understanding what Carl Jung meant about the shadows and the archetypes, and finally getting to a place of complete, I would say, ease and understanding when it comes to narcissistic people in my own life and helping other people achieve this mental harmony and balance about the narcissistic people in their life. When you cut through the noise and you understand, oh, narcissists reject their pain and they project it onto other people, and then they blame other people for their pain. Right. So they're not willing to face their shadow. Right. But if you step back and you pay attention and you observe that person, you'll see a pervasive pattern of this type of behavior in their relationships. You'll see it. You'll see it in marriages. You'll see it in sibling relationships. You'll see it in work relationships. You'll see that they can't get along with people. You see that they're chronic complainers. You'll see that they've been passive aggressive your whole life. You'll see that, and then what'll happen is you'll start to understand the people that are closest to them. You may have had one idea of who you think this person is, but all of a sudden there's something that affects you. And if you're aware, then you'll see like what's really happening here. And you'll be able to recognize that this person is rejecting their pain. And in the rejection of their pain, they're not sitting in their pain. They're rejecting their pain, and then they're projecting their pain, and then they're blaming their pain on other people. So nothing gets fixed. You can't fix somebody who isn't willing to integrate their shadow. You can't. The people that I work with are very courageous, very heroic. They embrace their shadows. And they stick with me and my team as we guide them and direct them like, well, let's look at that. Let's look at this. It's beautiful work for the person who is like really serious about committing time to like, I want to break through. I'm tired of living this way. And I think that people who understand this work are the best way showers for others who are just coming into understanding, oh, this is the pathway to emotional freedom. This is the pathway to healing complex trauma. This is the pathway to healing from emotional neglect and the habitual pattern of self-abandonment, i.e. codependency. And so it's important to realize that we all have shadows. It's just those of us who recognize that we have shadows and we investigate them and we dance with them and we stop rejecting them, we get to the other side of the pain and suffering. But narcissists, it's very sad, they can't heal because they won't go into the shadow. They'll blame you for their pain. They'll project their pain, and they'll continue to wreak havoc in their life and the life of others. And so I hope that this has been helpful. A couple of updates. I'll be in Boone, North Carolina for a live 3-day event from the 16th to the 18th in Boone, North Carolina at the Art of Living Retreat Center if you're interested. I believe we still have a few seats left. And then on the 20th, I will be having a live webinar talking to you, dear people, one-to-one. Those of you who want some help figuring things out and organizing that mind, I'll be glad to help you. From June 11th through the 13th, we're going to be having a free healing challenge inside my Facebook group, but you're going to have to join that Facebook group to participate. And then on the 18th, 19th, and the 20th, I'll be hosting another challenge inside the graduates Facebook page for those who have actually taken the 12-week breakthrough coaching program. So we have a lot coming up. The next launch, the next start date, I would say, of the 12-week breakthrough coaching program begins on July 13th. If you are on my newsletter, I made a boo-boo yesterday and I said June 13th. No, it's July 13th. So if you want to participate in that, you can participate and get $500 off the early bird. And those of you who are ready for Soul School, a 10-week course in the quantum science of love consciousness, that will begin on July 6th. So it's a jam-packed couple of months with nothing but healing and recovery and ascension transformations. And it is an honor to guide you there. Namaste, everybody. Until next time, as about to the love and light that is absolutely in you. You are enough. Bye. Bye, everybody.